Travel Brain Trust. I am Martha Rhodes, and I'm with my co-host, Mimi Lichtenstein. We are luxury travel advisors. And with our series, we are bringing you experts from around the world, hoping to inspire you to travel or maybe begin planning your next getaway. Today, we're going to take you to the beautiful country of Mexico. It's been a very popular destination recently for U.S. travelers with no COVID testing required or quarantines. So I'll turn it over to Mimi, who will introduce you to our guest.
Thank you, Martha. It's quite obvious that the way I'm dressed today, I am not in Mexico, but I did just come back from Mexico about 3 weeks ago. So I have a lot of great insights of what it's like to be there right now and how wonderful of a destination it is. I don't know what number trip it was for me, but I love Mexico. Today we have Alfonso Sumano here with us from Journey Mexico. Alfonso was born in Mexico and has over 20 years experience working in the luxury tourism section of the market. So he is a wealth of knowledge and resources. So welcome, Alfonso.
Thank you very much, Mimi.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you here with us today. We're going to start with going over a little bit of an overview of Mexico and some of the different areas around Mexico that tourists enjoy going to, because we're doing a deep dive today into the Yucatan, but there's also lots of other places that perhaps we won't have time to talk about, but are also amazing places to go. We'll do a dive into the Yucatan, and then we'll talk about experiences and adventures to have while you're there, and then a lot about our favorite resorts around that area. And then we'll wrap it up with COVID requirements and other safety measures to have when you're in the country. So let's start with Alfonso. Could you give us a quick overview of the different areas of Mexico that are highlights for people from America to go to?
Absolutely. Thank you very much again, Mimi and Martha, for having me. It is my pleasure to be here. As you know, Journey Mexico is a high-end DMC company or destination management company based out of Mexico with 4 offices in the country. So Mexico is a very large country. For us, these remote destinations and this sort of experiences is not new. We always are inviting our guests to actually go to these off-the-beaten-path destinations, cultural, culinary, everything else. The areas that we are seeing today are actually located in the Yucatan Peninsula, compounded by 3 states. Pretty much we are talking about Yucatan and Quintana Roo here, where Cancun is located. But then, you have other very interesting areas for the future, like Punta Mita and Puerto Vallarta here in the Pacific side of the country, and of course the Baja California Sur, where Los Cabos is located. Also, Central Mexico, very interesting destinations like Mexico City or San Miguel de Allende, Puebla, Oaxaca, all of this corridor, very interesting.
That's great. Alfonso, I learned to surf in Sayulita over there near Puerto Vallarta.
Absolutely. Sayulita is a beautiful place right here. Riviera Nayarit is located just north from Jalisco State, right here in the border. This little thing here that you see is actually called Punta Mita, and Sayulita is right over this area.
That was fun. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the Yucatan Peninsula, where Cancun is, Tulum, Playa del Carmen, some popular spots. So let's get a little deeper into that part of Mexico.
Absolutely. In the whole U.S., it's very easy for pretty much everywhere in the United States and Canada to fly down to Cancun, this area here. This is what we call the Mexican Caribbean, all of this, right? So it's compounded by Cancun, the Riviera Maya, down to Tulum. All of this area is really amazing in terms of the colors of the sea. This is what we call the white sand, very soft sand on the beach, and the colors of the sea are like greens to blues, amazing scenery. And then you have the very cultural state of Yucatan here, which capital city is actually Merida, right? In the half the way between Merida and this Cancun, Riviera Maya, Tulum corridor, you will hit, let's say, interesting places like Chichen Itza, for example, the Mayan archaeological site. Mm-hmm. The Mayan world in Mexico is actually compounded by or has presence in 5 states: Yucatan, Quintana Roo, Campeche, Tabasco, and Chiapas. Very, very interesting.
All right. Well, I think it's going to be, no matter where you go in this area, it's a rich experience culturally on the beach, dining, and all of that. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about that. A lot of people go to Mexico. They say, okay, I just want to go to a resort, lay on the beach, have a few cocktails, maybe a cerveza, some tacos. But then there are other people like me who like to sort of get out and about, maybe get out of the resort, walk around Playa del Carmen or go, other places and experience other things. Can you share a little bit with us about some of the different types of experiences people can have in this area of Mexico?
Absolutely. Well, I'm the same than you, Mimi, and I really like to to speak to locals and walking around and all of these cities. Especially this, for example, Merida city, the capital city of the Yucatan state. It's actually a wealth of culture, and the culinary. A lot of different ingredients from the Middle East, for example, because a couple of hundred years ago, actually, the haciendas that you have heard of were producing cotton and henequen. So this rich area, it has a lot of influence from the Middle East, which is very interesting in terms of the culinary. But the whole culture, it's amazing. We even have what we call like a cantina tour in the city of Merida, which is to me very interesting. It's like the equivalent to a tapas tour in Spain, but here in Merida, very old places like 100 or 150 years old buildings with the cantinas within them, and it's really a different experience from the rest of the country. Even walking around, like hiking, not only outdoors in certain areas, very amazing in terms of the nature, but also small towns like, for example, this one, Izamal, in the same region, is actually a Mayan town. The most amazing thing that I found here, or I have found here, the Mayan culture is actually alive. You are eating their food. You are actually listening people around you speaking Mayan, which is pretty amazing.
Hey, Alfonso, question for you. So when people are in Merida versus, maybe more on the Riviera Maya part of it, is it a very different feel? Because like Merida is not a beach town, correct?
It's not. But Merida is a colonial town, and it's actually surrounded by the Mayan culture in terms of the archaeology. And also, the cenotes, these underground rivers, are unique to the Yucatan Peninsula. Nowhere in the world you will find these underground rivers called cenotes in Mexico. We have hundreds of them. Not all of them, of course, open to the public. Most of them are actually private or privately owned. So we take our customers here privately, and then you can do from, let's say, snorkeling or scuba diving in some of them, depending. Some of them are actually open, what we call open or on the surface, but others are really underground. So it's a very different experience between one and the other. And we can even, have a chef there to do a beautiful meal for our clients. So it's a great experience. You can choose from, I don't know, spend 3 or 4 hours snorkeling and going around or spend the whole day, and have a beautiful meal there. So those are beautiful experiences unique to this area.
Well, I'll add in, Alfonso, I've swam in, I don't know how many different cenotes, but 3 weeks ago when I was there, we went in 2 more that I'd never been to before, an open one and a closed one. And you feel like you're in a magical place. I mean, you can kind of tell from the pictures, but when you're there to see that greenish blue water and to be surrounded by, the lush greenery of the jungle is just magical. I never had a meal while I was at one of them, but that definitely sounds like something I would love to do next time. So you guys are truly fortunate to have those. And what I loved, actually, we learned from our guide was sometimes people buy a piece of property and they have no idea they have a cenote on it until somehow it gets discovered from perhaps a scuba diver for National Geographic diving from another cave, and he pops up into a cenote that's on their property, and boom, now they know they have a cenote, which can become somewhere where they have people come and visit. So it's just such a beautiful part of this area of Mexico.
Absolutely, you're right. And people sometimes get surprised to have a cenote in their property without knowing, that's for sure. And that happens all the time, because we have, I wouldn't say thousands, but hundreds for sure. And I don't know, probably even less than 100 are actually open to be visited these days. But definitely we have access to the best of them, and those are amazing. And that's just one experience, and you can find them again in the Yucatan state, some in the Campeche state, some of them in the Quintana Roo. But you know, going back to the whole experiences that you actually experienced recently in Mexico, you know, we can arrange for private yachts and in any of the areas of Mexico, but specifically here in the Caribbean, in summertime, actually, let's say from April, May, and on. You can actually swim with a whale shark, for example. You can do fishing. You know, this is, for example, a catamaran. You can be taken to any kind of different snorkeling or even scuba diving experience in the surroundings, right? As you may know, Cozumel, the great island of Cozumel, just in front of Cancun, actually, it's a large island and actually has in its surroundings the second largest reef in the world, just after the Australian reef. So it's pretty amazing what you can do in the water here and the colors that you are going to experience. And you don't have again to be like you could experience a professional diver to actually get in the water and just do the snorkeling. You know, it's very easy. There are places like Shelha, which we call a natural aquarium, and other very easy places to go and experience the ocean, which is amazing in this side of the country.
Well, I'll chime in there again because I did take my kids to Shelha. They absolutely loved it. I think for, you know, any teenager or older mid-aged child or even adventurous adults, it's a great destination. And then in February in Los Cabos, or in La Paz, actually, I was there with my kids and we did go swimming with a whale shark, which had been on my bucket list for a long time. And it is an incredible experience. So if you have people who are adventurous, definitely put it on your list if you're coming to Mexico during that time of year.
Absolutely. And now that you are talking about the Sea of Cortez, the Baja California, the other side of the country, you're right. The season for the whale shark there is actually winter time. So starting these days in November all the way up to April. And then after that, you can come here to the Cancun and Riviera Maya areas and you will hit the whale shark. So pretty much it's always something going on in Mexico.
Oh, good. I see you've got some Mayan ruins there, and we're always adding some nice experiences for families and, you know, all of our travelers that are interested in the culture of Mexico and this Mayan history to go visit Chichen Itza and some of the other ruins. So maybe you could highlight that for us.
Absolutely. Well, as I was telling you, Chichen Itza is very easy to mix whenever you are visiting or combining, let's say, the colonial city of Merida and the beautiful area of the Riviera Maya, Cancun, all of the Caribbean Sea of Mexico, because it's actually halfway, you know, and you can visit the small towns that we were talking about, like Izamal, Valladolid, other Mayan towns in the area, and then, keep on going to Cancun. So you have a great combination for a 7, 10, or 14 days vacation, whatever you decide. And this is actually half the way, and it's very easy for us, you know, to arrange private visits, which means early in the morning or late in the evening, or even the times or the day that they are close to the public. We take our guests here privately, you know, and we get the best tourist guides. Not only they know the history and the culture of the Mayans, but they are, you know, they have great conversations with our guests because they are really knowledgeable. So I believe that this is a very good combination. This is, for example, Tulum, you know, the other Mayan archaeological site located right by the Caribbean Sea, just south from Cancun. And then the very famous thing here in Tulum is actually the observatory, the Mayan observatory, which was really interesting to me when I learned back a few years back, actually, the way they actually designed the Mayan calendar. They used to observe a pool of water on the ground, you know, reflecting the stars and the planets at night. And every single night they were up there, I mean, mapping out, you know, the movement of the stars and the whole planets and everything else. And so they were able to come up with a very precise Mayan calendar, which to me was interesting.
That's beautiful. I want to add in, I'm going to throw on my screen for a second because this particular picture is of a temazcal, which I did on a trip to Mexico a few years ago. This one happens to be the one from Rosewood, Mayakoba. And it was such a cool, unique experience. It's essentially a wellness experience where you go in this very hot stone igloo and have Mayan chants and lots of different things, aloe rubbed on your back and all sorts of cool things. So my guess is they can do all of these experiences privately right now. Is that right, Alfonso?
Absolutely, yes. I know a few Temazcal, and actually, Journey Mexico, we do have a private cave that we converted into a Temazcal experience. As you know, as you very well said, Temazcal is a steam bath with a Mayan ritual. So it's pretty amazing. And this is just 20 minutes actually from here, from Tulum. And there's a couple more Temazcal available. The one in Rosewood, I love it. And definitely, this is a very nice experience to have in the area.
Mhm.
What about golf, Alfonso? Do you find people like to do a little golfing when they're in this area?
I love golfing in the area. Specifically, I recently I was actually in Mayacova, and the golf course is just amazing. El Camaleon. There are 3 or 4 other golf courses. Not only the golf courses in Mexico are public, but in this area you get a lot. I mean, I love the Riviera Maya Golf Club. I like this Camaleon, Mayacova. And then even talking about golf, in the area of Merida, you got the Yucatan Golf Club, which is very well ranked, and an amazing golf course as well. So this for golfers, this is like a paradise because the scenery is just unbelievable.
Sure looks like it. All right, so let's cheers a little bit and talk about where we're going to stay in this beautiful part of Mexico. Let's start with some of the hotels that are just for adults, what some of our favorites are, and then we'll expand a little bit to some of to the hotels that we love for adults and families.
Sure. I mean, Mexico is pretty flexible, as you know. Most of the hotels welcome families, but definitely we recommend certain specific hotels in our portfolio, to be enjoyed by adults or more like towards that experience. For example, the town of Tulum, if you decide to stay there, probably you will have a more like kind of a nightlife, arts kind of, flavors. So probably that's pretty well recommended for adults. For example, this particular hotel that we love in our portfolio is the Chablé Yucatan. This property is actually a hacienda type, just in the outskirts of the city of Merida. And it has, the most amazing restaurant that I've ever tried in this area, actually within the hacienda, within the resort. And actually, one other highlight could be, for example, the spa is actually built into a cenote. So all of the cabins actually face the cenote for the spa. So this is an amazing property. And then, of course, talking about Chablé, if you stay here, you can combine the feel of an hacienda type kind of property with a beautiful Chablé Maroma, which is located in the Riviera Maya. So you just drive from there to the Caribbean side of the country, and you can, enjoy the Mexican Caribbean within a couple of hours. Of course, we can talk about the Andas Mayacova, welcoming families as well. Beautiful place to stay, and within our portfolio. Mimi she was talking just about the Rosewood Mayacova. You are taking by boat to your room in this property. It's an amazing property and an amazing way to stay. All of these hotels are included in our portfolio. For example, if you would like to be in a more remote style kind of property, you can hit Esencia, which is right in the middle of the jungle with access to the Caribbean as well. Beautiful property, very isolated from the rest of the touristic areas. So, we have pretty much everything to everybody. And then, going back to Tulum, if you would like a more as well isolated, but in a very alive town of Tulum, staying at Casa Malca or some of the other hotels in our portfolio could be great because these hotels. Yep.
Question about Casa Malca. Is it true that that's a property that used to be owned by Pablo Escobar?
Well, I do not know that for sure, but they say that yes. Okay, that used to be a home for them. So, but I cannot prove that.
Okay.
Okay. And then, going back to the families kind of resorts, this I don't really like to call it an all-inclusive because it's much more than that. This hotel is actually in our portfolio. The Grand Velas Riviera Maya is one of the Grand Velas property in Mexico. And I can tell you that this is a very high-end, I would say all-inclusive, but, you have pretty much fun for everybody in the family, right? So you have a large array of different options in the whole area of Cancun, Riviera Maya, and Cozumel, all of those destinations in the Caribbean of Mexico. We are talking about probably over 83,000 hotel rooms in the corridor. We, as Journey Mexico, have and manage very specific properties just up to our standards. We have a few to be recommended, but these definitely are within those.
And then Alfonso, also, I know from working with you guys that you have quite a few, actually a large assortment of villas all around the Riviera Maya, as well as other parts of Mexico, which a lot of times for multi-generational trips or for several couples traveling together, that's a great option for people.
Absolutely, you're right. We have actually in our villas portfolio 375 properties listed today, all of them curated by our staff. We have a villas director person dedicated to that. So what you are expecting in terms of a villa, exactly the way they look at the picture, we actually have them. The villas program, it's not new, but it's pretty recent, like 3 or 4 years old to us, and it's been very successful today. Just because people are looking at places where they can be kind of isolated from the crowds, and then all of these villas have staff included. Some of them have a chef, and even you can experience anything available in the destination for you in a hotel. You can experience it as well in one of our villas. I got to tell you that in the last few months, within this pandemic months of this year, we've seen a very, very strong increase in terms of people demands for villas. The program has been extremely successful for us.
And while you were talking, I just put up, these are just some of the meals that I had when I was in Mexico a few weeks ago. And I like this compilation because it makes it very clear that you're not just going to be eating tacos and guacamole and cervezas when you're in Mexico. The amount and variety of food is just astonishing. It's international. I think it's so interesting that one of the most famous, best restaurants in this area is actually at the Banyan Tree Hotel, which has an Asian influence, and it's called Saffron. That's a Thai restaurant. So the setting of it is absolutely magical. We didn't eat there because they happened to be closed on Mondays, which was the day I was there. But as you can see from these pictures, you will not go hungry if you're in Mexico. The top left, by the way, is a passion fruit mojito, which is one of my favorite things. But you can get an amazing array of both high-end Mexican food, straight up street tacos, or international food. So it's a great destination for foodies.
Absolutely. Let me ask, of course, I do have certain specific favorite places to eat in the area, but of course, one of the things that I really miss about my own country is the food. So whenever I have the chance to go back, I just really dedicate some time, to street tacos and some of the other beautiful experiences in terms of the culinary Mexico. This is amazing.
Yeah. And of all the different hotels that you were just mentioning, I think I went to the majority of them last week. Or 3 weeks ago, we didn't make it down to Tulum, but we went to Gran Velas, which, yes, it is an all-inclusive, but it has, I think a Michelin star or a Michelin-like star restaurant, and they have 50 different wines that are included by the glass with your meals. They have those big bubble hamster wheels that the kids can go into, like kind of roll around on the pool. They've got salsa lessons on the beach and, so many fun things to do. So I think it's a great destination for families. And they also have an adults only section. So with a swim up bar, which is one of my favorite accessories at any hotel. And I'm going to show a picture. This is not of Gran Velas swim up bar, but this is the swim up bar at Nizuc, which is about 10 minutes from the Cancun airport. So it's in a much further north location than the rest of these hotels we've been talking about, but it's a great destination for people who have an early flight out of Cancun or arrive late in the evening and don't want to, drive anywhere. And it was just voted, I think, the #1 most Instagrammable resort in the world. So highly recommended if you have teenagers or you like taking pictures and posting to Instagram.
Absolutely. Nizuc is actually located in Punta Nizuc, one of our favorite hotels within the Journey Mexico portfolio.
Nice. And could you touch on seaweed? I think it's called sargassum. This is technically the seaweed that happens around the Caribbean. A lot of people, who know about it are concerned, am I going to go there and have a beach that doesn't look beautiful and white like the pictures? Is it going to be full of seaweed? Could you give us a little bit of insight into how they handle that? And is it seasonal, or how frequently does it happen?
It is actually. Let me start by saying that this is not exclusive to Mexico. The seaweed actually hits the whole Caribbean. Dominican Republic, all of the islands in the Caribbean, and so on and so forth. There are certain areas in Mexico that are actually more affected than others. Pretty much what I can tell you about the seasonality is that the seaweed starts coming in April, let's say May, and so on by summertime. And then, but I got to tell you this. I mean, even the Navy in Mexico is involved in trying to clean up the beaches in the Cancun and Riviera Maya regions, right? So together, the authorities, I mean, the federal and the local government with the hoteliers are doing a great job in cleaning up the beaches. Of course, sometimes you will see the seaweed in certain seasons, and specifically after April, I would say May, a little bit more. But they are doing a great job in cleaning up the beaches for you. And actually, for our clients at Journey Mexico, we are extremely 100% transparent, and we can even get some pictures of the current situation if someone asks us, because of course you cannot avoid to see the seaweed, but definitely they are working hard to try to control it.
And I have a bunch of, unfiltered pictures from my trip, and I saw them out there in the mornings. If there was seaweed, there wasn't a lot when we were there, but they were out there with their little machines and rakes and scraping it up. So if you're staying at a nice hotel, there's people who are probably going to be awake hours before you to make sure that beach looks really nice before you step on it.
100%. Yes, you're right.
Then maybe we should talk about the last topic, which is COVID rules, regulations. Could you give us some insight into how those are affecting U.S. travelers in Mexico?
Absolutely. Let me just finishing by saying that at Journey Mexico, we are ready to fulfill and go beyond your expectations in Mexico. We have all kind of services related to traveling within the country, including helicopter service, private yacht experiences for all of what we just talked about. All of the transportation needs and so on are very well covered by us. So just to wrap up, as you said, Mimi, and again, thank you for the opportunity. Mexico is open to everybody. And actually, we have, as we speak, a lot of guests from the US, some from Canada, but most of the US, because there are no restrictions in coming to Mexico. You are going to be taking the temperature, when arriving. And upon arrival, you are going to be, handed a very general health questionnaire. So if you are not sick, you are going to be able to actually enter the country with no restrictions at all. And people are very welcoming. And I got to tell you, not only us as Journey Mexico, but the whole tourism industry and the different destinations are actually following up very strictly on the protocols. So, I have heard people saying that they feel safer in Mexico than in some other areas or cities in North America because of the protocols are followed up very strictly. And we just recently, for example, have the stamp by WTTC, the World Travel and Tourism Council, for safe travels, meaning that we follow up on the protocols at 100%, which pretty much in Mexico means, wearing a face mask in public places, social distancing, wash your hands often, and use sanitizer. And then that would be it, right? And again, we specialize in this kind of remote, not crowded places, outdoors, kind of experiences. So believe me, in Mexico, you are going to feel very, very, very comfortable.
And I can say from my firsthand experience being there, everybody was following protocols the whole time. It's almost like people feel grateful, I think, that they get to be in that opportunity, the tourists. And then the people who work at the hotels take it very seriously, because I think they want to obviously still encourage Americans and other travelers to come. I think it's worth noting that the CDC did recently issue a statement discouraging Americans to travel to Mexico, which I think is, partly because obviously with what's going on in the United States right now, we have a lot of rising cases, and quite frankly, discouraging travel in general is something that's going to have fewer connections between people, whether it be to the next state or, to another country. So we're we're here sharing this information because we love Mexico as a destination, whether it be that you go in a couple of months or you go in a year. Hopefully some of this information has been valuable, and it's going to stick around. All these hotels are going to be amazing hotels whenever you end up going to Mexico. So
that swim up bar will be there in June, July, September, October, whenever we get there.
got it, for sure.
I'm ready.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Alfonso. That was just really fun, and I'm so glad you could join us today.
Thank you both very much, and cheers, everybody. Welcome to Mexico.
Oh, thank you. So everyone, thanks for joining us. We have all of our episodes on our YouTube channel, The Travel Brain Trust. So love for you to go back and look at those with safaris and spas and a couple other topics you might be interested in. We're going to take a little holiday break in December and start looking forward to getting back to travel in 2021, fingers crossed. And so please post on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, Travel Brain Trust, your ideas for future shows. And we hope to see you again soon. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.